Hello, I'm Tim Rogers. You are watching Kotaku.com. Today, let's talk tips for Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions' Death Stranding, a game by Hideo Kojima which imminently releases onto the PlayStation 4 game console. Death Stranding's creators shrouded it in mystery for a period of 3 years leading up to its release. The thickness of the mystery shroud prevented most casual observers' comprehension of even the game's basic design mechanics. People were like, what kind of game even is Death Stranding? What is the story even about? Why are there so many dead whales? Now that I have been graciously gifted a download code and been allowed to play the entire game several weeks before the general public for the bizarre reason that a website pays my rent, I can say that I now understand every detail morsel that evaded us, the game likers of the world, for Death Stranding's entire 3-year hype cycle. As I said in my 1-hour Death Stranding video review event, playing this game unspoiled ranked as one of the more joyful cathedrals of delights I have ever experienced in my 4 decades as a Hideo Kojima fan. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a spoiler warning on this tips video. Shout me out in the comments if this is the first time you've ever seen a spoiler warning on a tips video. It might not be. Death Stranding's plot concerns connections, both metaphorical and literal. You, as protagonist Sam Porter Bridges, must traverse the apocalyptized North American continent performing sci-fi cable guy duties. You're connecting basement-dwelling future-fearers into a nationwide information and 3D printing network, one node at a time, while carrying a lot of heavy boxes on your back. The narrative strongly, repeatedly reinforces this theme of connection and togetherness. As you play, you leave behind tools and structures which other real players elsewhere will encounter once they have connected that segment of the world in their own campaign playthroughs. When I played Death Stranding, I rushed. I was on a deadline, I had to make a video, so I didn't leave behind as much of material value as some of my colleagues and peers had been doing. So for a game about karma, production of a tips video arrives as a fitting penance for me personally. I'm passing down my knowledge to you, the future generation. When composing a list of tips to impart upon you, the viewer, I had to put myself into your shoes. I had to remember that time 1 month ago when I, like a child, had yet to play Death Stranding. Video game tips videos on the internet tend to fall into the stuff you should know before you start, or stuff we wish we'd known before we started categories. Though after spending nearly 100 hours with this gargantuan, bizarre video game, I have decided to frame my tips as stuff I wish I had figured out a little bit faster. Maybe that's not so snappy on a thumbnail. Anyway, without further whatever this is, let's talk tips. A lot of the discourse which will surround Death Stranding after it arrives in the hands of hungry players will likely concern the sheer difficulty of simply maneuvering Sam Porter Bridges' weird, heavy balloon animal body as he undertakes his future science fiction UPS delivery mission. The guy carries a lot of boxes and he falls over quite often. The earlier parts of Death Stranding confront you with a million micro-challenges per minute. Just walking upright is a chore. If Sam starts to tip over, you will see a little button prompt on the screen telling you to pull either the right or left trigger to lean right or left, respectively, by making Sam grab one or even both of his backpack straps. So here's the tiniest little fundamental tip that I can think of. These button prompts are not a QTE. Death Stranding is not inventing its backpack strap grab mechanic inside that exact instant that tutorial tip pops up. You can grab your backpack straps left, right, or both even when the game is not telling you to. You can use the triggers to predict and preemptively compensate for accidental leaning that hasn't even happened yet. You're meant to be feathering on and off of each or both triggers throughout every foot journey. Perhaps with just this one tipette in mind, you can start to see how ridiculously rich the rest of this game ends up becoming. Death Stranding is the GRAN TURISMO of walking simulators. You should own more than one pair of shoes, both in real life and in Death Stranding. If your shoes wear out, Sam won't be able to run at any more more than like half his normal speed. Furthermore, whatever the heck happened to the world to scare all its people underground also left a lot of jagged rocks jutting out everywhere. Bare feet plus jagged rocks equals bloody footprints. Sam can literally die of drippy foot-related blood loss. And let me tell you, that almost happened to me once because, like a fool, I had neglected to confirm that I had an extra pair of shoes on me. I did not have an extra pair of shoes on me. In addition to being very un-Boy Scout-like of me, it was also in poor taste, because an extra pair of boots really completes Sam's look. See how they hang on his backpack here? That's pretty much the hiking equivalent of truck nuts. The in-game dramatized voiceover pseudo-tutorial that introduces your fancy mapping system glosses over its utility in a science-fictional way. Unless you heed this tip that I'm speaking right now, you, like me, might wind up a quarter of the way through the game before you realize how flexible the in-game map really is. Something about the miniature end of the world that happened before Death Stranding's story begins must have knocked all of the GPS servers offline, because Death Stranding's in-game computerized mapping system does not make navigation easy. You need to actually get your hands crayon dirty by drawing multi-point routes. After pressing and then releasing the square button to drop a marker, press the square button again and then drag the left analog stick to draw another route segment. Each time you let go of the analog stick and the button, you'll drop a new waypoint node. Repeat this process and you can make some long, bending, winding paths. And you're gonna need to make some big, long, winding paths because the map doesn't have a whole lot of colors in it. It's hard to discern elevation. It's almost like it's been designed to be hard to read on purpose so as to enforce you, the player, to come to better grips with the perilous unpredictability of the game's navigation component. Back out in the world of the main game screen, you will see the path that you drew on the map represented as a fancy computer graphic-y terrain-hugging dotted line. Shout me out in the comments if you loved drawing on the map in Zelda Phantom Hourglass. Also, in case you didn't get it, the mapping function is making you draw lines, which are like strands. You're leaving a rope for yourself by making connections between waypoints. Here's a tip within a tip. Notice that the mapping system prefixes each waypoint with a letter and suffixes it with a number. All connected waypoints will have the same letter prefix. If you start a second route not connected to the first, it'll prefix that route with a different number. This might appear subtle, though take my word for it, this is the game encouraging you to always consider multiple routes every time before you set out on a journey. Trust me, late in the game you are going to be thinking about this a lot. Also, out in the main game screen, press and hold L1 to enter first-person mode, which the game calls compass mode. This viewing mode brings up a handy HUD that lays all UI elements bare, meaning you can sight your markers and reorient yourself as the situation requires.
Neat.
Oh, and a bonus dangling tip off the bottom of this tip is to hold the square button while not touching any individual markers, and you can erase all the markers that you've drawn. For the first 20 hours of the game, until I figured this out, I'd been erasing my markers one at a time, and that was miserable. Then I actually stood up and walked over to my TV so I could read the fine print, and yeah, here it is right here. Finally, here's a tip for developers. Make your goddarn fonts bigger. And here's an epilogue to that tip for the inevitable guy in the comments who is going to say,
I can read the tiny font just fine, man.
Buddy, what you're going to want to do is quit bragging to me and go put in your application to the U.S. Air Force pilot program, you 40/20 vision having
Freak.
Death Stranding's first couple chapters force you to walk long, slow, painful distances through beautiful terrain. To paraphrase Mark Twain's famously, groundbreakingly eloquent one-sentence video game review of golf, Sam Porter Bridges' good walk, Death Stranding's it's gonna spoil that good walk quite a fair deal. Comically bloated survival game design systems, inventory management, and frustrating terrain all spoil Sam Porter Bridges' long, good walk. The big daddy of good walk spoilers, however, is Death Stranding's BTs. They're ghosts, kind of? Where did they come from? What are they? What do they want? Now, I'd be spoiling it if I told you whether or not the game comes anywhere near close to explaining any of the answers to any of the questions you're asking, though I can, in good conscience, tell you how to deal with the BTs. Here's the best tip I can give you. Don't overthink it. We've known forever that Hideo Kojima has always wanted to make a horror game. I mean, he almost did that one time, with Guillermo del Toro, in fact. That's the director of Crimson Peak, which stars Jim Beaver. Shout me out in the comments if you're a big fan of Deadwood. I opinionatedly would not call Death Stranding's BTs, quote-unquote, stealth encounters. I would like to strongly make the case to differentiate them as horror stealth encounters. Fans of any horror games will know that horror stealth is sort of a different genre of game than regular stealth. In case I'm not making sense, what I'm saying is that the BTs do not behave naturally. They behave supernaturally. They don't behave like soldiers in a Metal Gear Solid game. They behave more like zombies in The Last of Us. And yeah, I know they're not zombies in The Last of Us. When I first played Death Stranding, I had let years of trailer hype trick me into freaking out about the BTs. Though it turns out BTs ain't nothing. Just crouch, use your scanner a lot so that you can be aware of their position, and if you detect one near yourself, hold the R1 button to hold your breath. BTs flat out cannot see you if you hold your breath, and you can walk pretty darn close to them with your breath held. Just don't walk right up and rub your whole body up against them, because then they definitely will hit you. While holding your breath, keep an eye on your stamina. Every single mandatory story-critical BT encounter in the first half of the game always presents you more or less a path clear of impossible terrain. Follow the natural smoothness of the earth, hold your breath when you need to, and these encounters are actually somewhat stupidly easy. Think of it as Minesweeper, except you're guaranteed to win. If a BT does catch you, just run out of the black tar circle that appears on the ground. You'll see what I mean when it happens, because it'll probably happen. The game will start giving you grenades to stun or visualize the BTs starting from an early point in the story, though I gotta say, you don't really need them. They're fun, though you don't really need to master the usage of them. And for the haters in the comments on my video review on this channel, all of you saying that it looks like the game doesn't have any combat, let me spoil that for you. Yes, you do get weapons. Yes, you can fight the BTs. It's just that for the first major portion of the game, you can't fight them for plot reasons. I'm not going to spoil how and why you start being able to fight them, though. Come on, man. Do you really think Hideo Metal Gear Solid Snake Kojima is going to make a game that doesn't have some goddarn weapons in it? Get out of town with that nonsense.
Cowboy.
When you pack up to head out on an expedition, you're going to find yourself falling into a quick rhythm. At every sleep zone, you're going to sleep to restore stamina, shower to get your sweat grenade, urinate to get your urine grenade, defecate to get your turd grenade, leave your private room, and stock up at the terminal. Every mission has a mandatory base cargo that will take up X percentage of your carrying capacity. How you fill out the rest of the load is up to you. And here's where we start to get all emotional. In Death Stranding, what you leave behind helps other players. So, when filling out the rest of your carrying capacity, the philosophical puzzle asks you to balance your own needs with the needs of your descendants. You will want to pack up on weapons and resources to ensure your own survival, though you must also think about the future. All players who experience Death Stranding after you are your children. In other words, save some space to pack ropes and ladders. Before delivering your cargo to its final destination, be mindful of the ropes and ladders that you're carrying. Try to never arrive at a destination without using all your ropes and ladders. Say there's a river. See the river. Maybe there's a ladder laid across that river 100 meters downriver. Go ahead and put another ladder down wherever you can. You never know what difference that 100 meters is going to make to a future player's situation. And trust me, no huge amount of laddering by no huge number of players is going to make this game world perfectly frictionlessly traversable. So make like a cowboy and rope it up, partner. If you enter Death Stranding with a conscious mindfulness to always set up every rope and ladder that you carry, others will too. This tip is so important that one of my later tips is a much more strongly reiterated version of it. Death Stranding milks its wobbly, comical, cargo-carrying, visual semiotical inventory management system for a big burger bucket of game mechanics. Oh yes, you heard it here first. Death Stranding milks the burger bucket. Milking the burger bucket is a technical game designer term, by the way. Actually, it's not. One of the best examples we can see of just how down and dirty Death Stranding's game design gets lurks here in the cargo distribution system. The positional distribution of cargo on Sam's bag and suit determines his balance when walking. This is hilarious, over-the-top Hideo Kojima playfulness. You can strap a heavy load to Sam's back to make him balance slightly better when running down hills. Strap heavy stuff to his arms to make him turn tighter corners. Seriously, when I call Death Stranding the GRAN TURISMO of walking simulators, I am barely joking. Though right there on the menu is an Optimize Cargo option. Hold the triangle button and the game just automatically distributes the cargo for you. This worked for me for pretty much the entire back half of the game. Early on, I didn't want to use it, I didn't trust it. Maybe I thought it was bait. Maybe I thought it couldn't possibly be the best distribution of cargo, though you know what? I was just thinking about it too hard. The optimization feature works so well that I wonder if Kojima only begrudgingly agreed to let his team include it after hearing feedback from dozens of playtesters. If I'd been in his position, if I'd just directed this big, massive survival logistical nightmare adventure-ganza, I'd be clutching that cargo distribution menu like Sam clutches his darling BB. Of course, some of the high-level optional deliveries late in the game vindicated my overthinking, and I at last tasted the sweet nectar of meaningful micromanagement. Though for the main campaign, I'm gonna say just go ahead and leave it up to the computer. This here is a life tip as much as a Death Stranding tip. Read some books, buddy. Watch some films. Hideo Kojima constantly talks about his influences on his social media feeds. Heck, he even constantly talks about them inside his games. Death Stranding alights upon a cultural constellation of touchstones. Maybe you should check some of those out. Get a Criterion channel subscription. They have a free trial. The free trial is long enough to watch the Andrei Tarkovsky films Stalker and Solaris at least twice each. You can't possibly find Death Stranding boring if you've watched all of Stalker. Death Stranding also opens with a quote about ropes and sticks from a short story called Rope by Japanese author Kobo Abe. So go ahead and watch Hiroshi Teshigahara's film adaptations of Kobo Abe's novels The Woman in the Dunes and The Face of Another. Also, go ahead and read Kobo Abe's short story Rope, the one that's quoted at the beginning of Death Stranding. You know, until last week it had never been translated into English before. So, in a Death Strandingly gesture of togetherness and connection, I translated it for your enrichment. Medium.com says it's only a 27-minute read. Also, while you have that Criterion channel subscription, watch the Edward Yang film, A Brighter Summer Day, one of my favorite films ever made. Also, Martin Scorsese loves it, and that guy has great taste. Weirdly, I feel like it's a terrible spoiler to say that Death Stranding is divided into episodes. Well, there it is. Death Stranding is divided into episodes. I won't tell you how many episodes there are, just that there are episodes. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, let me tell you, get to episode 3. I foolishly lingered in episode 2 for several hours so as to capture footage for my video review. When I got to episode 3, I wished I'd gotten there sooner. Episodes 1 and 2 exist to exhaust you until you exhort your television for sweet relief. Episode 3 gives you a glimpse of a glimmer of empowerment. The game opens up. You get tools to help you run faster or carry more stuff. You get the ability to fabricate vehicles. You get guns which allow you to non-lethally take down the nomadic terrorist weirdos hassling you. In episode 3, Death Stranding transforms from curiously, miserably addictive to genuinely hilarious fun. Furthermore, yes, you can go back and complete earlier side quests that you might have neglected, and you do get fast travel, and you can use your new toys on the old side quests. Though the fast travel doesn't let you take stuff with you, so you have to fabricate new stuff, you'll work that out. All I'm saying, just try to get to episode 3. And also for the haters in the comments, no, I am not saying that episodes 1 and 2 are boring or dumb or stupid. Episodes 1 and 2 were completely fascinating to me. I'm not joking. I'm not being ironic. I'm not trying to justify the immense amount of time that I spent playing the game. I really, really enjoyed episodes 1 and 2. It's just episode 3's wild, man. I mean, come on. Early in episode 3, right around when you get some vehicles to play with, the game teaches you how to deliver materials to highway fabricators, which are big structures strewn about the landscape, meant to 3D print sections of highway if provided the proper materials. Your mission giver pontificates for a bit about how if we all work together, we can connect America coast to coast with one unbroken highway. I just want to point out that your mission giver in this case is Die Hardman, who in the Japanese version of Death Stranding is voiced by Akio Otsuka, the voice of Solid Snake. So I kind of want to replay the whole game with the Japanese voiceover turned on so I can hear Solid Snake pontificate about building a highway that connects America. Micro tip, play in English. Mads Mikkelsen is fantastic. This idealistic connection of an unbroken coast-to-coast highway comically did not happen during my frenzied pre-release play session. I and all the other video game critics of the world were in far too much of a hurry to be bothered with the highway. Outside of that one tutorial mission, I did not top up a single highway fabricator. It was too much of a hassle. You have to haul heavy packages of metals and ceramics long distances from a distribution center. Though, buddy, I'm begging you, don't be like me. Just do it. Do just one. Top up just one highway fabricator. In my second playthrough, as penance for my earlier negligence, I topped up 4. I suggest that you take time out of your rush through episode 3 to top up at least one highway fabricator for the good of all the players in your shard of Death Stranding's world. Take a sabbatical. As I said earlier, every player who experiences Death Stranding after you is your child. With its narrative design and game design synchronizedly swimming in a perfect helix, Death Stranding can and will perform multiple shocking magic tricks that will make you care for your children. I promise you, you will want to leave behind items for your children to use. One of the most frequent questions you all are asking me on Twitter and in the YouTube comments for my video review concerns the game's difficulty. A lot of you are asking if the game is easier if you play online, enjoying the benefits of other players' structures. Some of you also ask if the online mode is optional or if you can play offline for more challenge. More of you still are asking if you need PlayStation Plus to experience the online, and the answer to that last question is no. The answer to the other 2 questions I'm about to get to. Specifically, a lot of you are asking if Death Stranding will be easier for later players who traverse the landscape relying on the kindness of strangers. I say that in this case, the answer is 100 times more interesting than the question. For one, you don't see other players as structures until after connecting a node to the nationwide network. So rest assured that every player will, at least once, enjoy the miserable experience of traversing an absolutely naked blast waste. Second, structures deteriorate due to the game's sci-fi time travel brain, aka timefall. So if you put something down, it's not going to be there forever. Third, there's a limit on how many structures can be placed in each segment of the world at any given time based on the amount of chiral bandwidth. This is a wildly messy little concept, and I love it. Also, you're not playing with every player in the world. You're stuck on sort of a shard server that nebulously includes some of your PlayStation friends, maybe all of them, and some outside people, and it's very difficult to get your head around, and I suggest you just relax and chill with it, man. Fourth, you get likes, that's the game world's currency, when people use your structures. This means all players will want to build structures. In a strip mall-esque structure populous zone, later players might not find adequate real estate for entrepreneurship. In other words, the game isn't easier for them, it's just challenging in a different way. So here's my tip for getting your head around this. I will speak nebulously. At some point in the game, the time will feel right to take a sabbatical. For me, this happened in episode 4. Take some time away from the main quest. Pick a far away from yourself optional questination. Make sure that most of your journey will occur on the grid so that you will be able to see and rely on other players' structures. Put on a power skeleton for maximum cargo carrying capacity. Pack well and sally out. Bring a bike, load it up. Bring ropes, ladders, and PCCs. PCCs are the items that let you build the various helpful game world structures, by the way. Take a winding route to your destination. Stop at other players' ropes, ladders, shelters, and generators. Ask yourself, how can I help? Maybe a strip of a particular zone would be a little bit more boot-friendly with a ladder here or there. Take your time. Use items generously. Find a generator. Charge up your skeleton. Now, run in a direction until your batteries wear out. Now make a new generator. Get creative. Be an entrepreneur. Be a good friend to the earth. Be a good parent to the children born after you die. Be good, at least until you've accomplished a couple missions, unlocked some fabrication recipes, and stockpiled enough materials to keep weapons and gear affordable for the rest of the game. Then, as you finish the game, you will see constant little pop-up notifications telling you who used your structures. You'll see the likes number jump up into the thousands and then the tens of thousands. This will feel good. If it does not feel good, just go replay the terrorist mass shooting London mission of the new Call of Duty a couple dozen more times, you psycho. I personally loved whenever I saw a generator, so maybe make some generators. The big daddies of helpful structures are the safe houses and bridges, which require a PCC and some obnoxiously heavy materials, though you can always start one and let some other player finish it. Also, slam that like button on everything. Just give everybody as many likes as you can. It's nice. Just build stuff, man. It's the whole point of the game, and that's the short version of this video. Just build stuff and think about making the world a better place. Be the good you want to see in the world. Death Stranding is huge, beautiful, and thoughtful. It slyly encourages mindfulness. Using many magical tricks of game design, it blesses its player with a genuine urge to make its world a better place, which might make them want to make the real world a better place? I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. If you watched these tips before playing the game, look, I'd feel like a liar if I tried to tell you that learning all of this didn't feel like the whole point of the game. The game deliberately, using both mechanics and narrative, encourages you to grow emotionally until you embody mindfulness of and care for future generations of your fellow players. What you leave behind benefits everyone else who follows your path. Death Stranding educates you in the philosophy of an educator. It's a wonderful experience. And look, here I am writing up a script that I'm going to read into a microphone and then edit into a video, which is right this exact second ruining it for you, the viewer. I hope I'm happy with myself. Thank God I'm not a psychiatrist. Oh well, like I always say, I was born stupid. However, I will not die hungry. Video games forever, Kotaku.com.